So in the previous step, I was able to perform reconnaissance on the vulnerable streaming media server, which is Icecast. And I saw that port TCP 3389 was open, as well as 135 and 139. I was also able to find the host name, which was Dark PC. So now that I've found that information through reconnaissance, it's now time to build on that and actually exploit the vulnerable service to gain a foothold. So now that I know that Icecast is pretty much running on the server and it's vulnerable, I can move on and try to gain access. So first things first, I'm going to do some basic um, information gathering. We're going to try to figure out what type of vulnerability this is. So there's a website called CVE Details, which gives us information about specific vulnerabilities. So what I did was I can go back here to the homepage, and we know CVE, we can basically type in CVE ID, the product, the vendor, the vulnerability type. So I'm going to type in Icecast. As you can see, there's multiple vulnerabilities. There's 3 vulnerabilities. So I'm just going to click that first one. And basically it gives us a information about it. It's a buffer overflow was discovered in the URL authentication backend on the Icecast before 2.4.4. So yeah, there's a lot of detailed information that the attacker can use in order to understand more about the vulnerability. Because the vulnerability, you can know about it. You can know that there's a vulnerable service or the machine is vulnerable, but you have to understand, like, what does that vulnerability entail? Like, how can I exploit that vulnerability now? So now that I have been able to get that, I'm going to answer the first question, which is what type of vulnerability is it? So this is let me go back to it. It says it right here. It's an execute code overflow. And I think, yeah, so let's get execute code overflow. Let me get some more detailed information about that. When a program or process attempts to write more data to fixed length block of memory than the buffer is able to handle. Just like, it's a good example right here. Putting too much water in a teacup, it just overflows. So putting too much code. So execute code overflow, and that is how this machine is vulnerable. Execute code overflow. And what is the CVE number for this vulnerability? And this is the format. So the CVE looks like it's CVE 2018 18820. Maybe something else based. Okay, so based on let's see, the CV was disclosed in 2004. In case that you get stuck on this, because they link to the manual version of the exploit. But it's not that important to get that particular one. But I'll go back and see if there's the one from 2004, just so I can get that particular CVE. I can just Google that. Let's see, CVE for Icecast 2004. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. This is what. So we got that. So now that we have figured out the CVE, and also we have a lot more information about our about the vulnerability, we can use a tool like Metasploit to basically, yeah. So Metasploit is just like a hacker's best friend because it allows the attacker to do so many different things. So I'm gonna basically give a great definition. This is like the best definition I could find that makes the most sense. Um, so it pretty much allows for modular penetration testing and enables you to write, test, and execute exploit code. That's not the one I was looking for. Let's see. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So can be used by cyber criminals as well as ethical hackers to probe systematic vulnerabilities on networks and servers. So basically, I can launch Metasploit. So back here, now that I have the information about the vulnerable machine, which is IceCast, I can pretty much launch the Metasploit from here. Let's see, I may have to go in as a root, but it may also just let me run it. So let's see. All right, so it took a little second, and now I'm actually able to see Metasploit. So we have Metasploit up. We see our banner here, 7 evasion. So basically, what I'm going to do is answer these questions. So first off, it's going to we're able to launch it by using the MSF console, which brought us to the Metasploit console here. So now that we're here, we can look at search information for IceCast. So let's see. So we're going to do search. IceCast. And we get information. So rank is grade. IceCast header overwrite. Disclosure date 2004. And this is the, I believe this is like the this is like what it's asking for. Let's search for our target exploit using the command search IceCast. What is the full path for the exploitation module? Which is recommended. Okay, so this is the exploitation module here. It's exploit Windows HTTP IceCast header. So let's go ahead and select this module for use. Type either the command use IceCast or use 0 to select our search result. So once we do that, we're going to do, let's say it said we can do exploit. We can either do use IceCast. So let's see, we'll just do use 0. And we get our header. Well, we get our path here, which is the exploit. So now that we have that, we can, I believe we can type either the command use IceCast or 0. So that's completed. That's completed. Following selecting our module, we now have to check what options we have to set in order to run the command. So run the command, show options. So can do and look at that. So we get the module options, support, payload options, exit function, listen. The listen address and interface may be specified. The listen port 4444. Technique accepted. Very deep information, but Let's see what the question is asking specifically. Following, what is the only required setting which currently is blank? What is the only required setting that is currently left blank? I believe it looks like it'd be here, but let's do some more digging. Looks like it's the file path host. All right, so this is like all it's going to ask us for now. So we just need to basically run set our hosts and then specify the machine name. Metasploit makes it very easy for us. It's pretty cool. So before we do that, it's saying that we need to make sure that the L host is set to 0. First, let's check that the L host option is set to our TUN0 IP, which can be found on the access page. With that done, let's see the last option to our target IP. So let's run our target exploit using the command exploit. So let's see. So we have exploit. So we could set so we're just basically following this. Our hosts, let me make sure. Our hosts define which remote hosts can invoke certain commands on the local host without supplying a password. Okay, man, this is a very powerful tool. So back to here, we can just do set our hosts, and then we'll specify and then it also said check the L host is set to 0. I mean, this is L host here, local host, I guess. Listen address, the listen port. Okay. Looks like it's at 0. Okay, so let's see. Set our hosts, and then we'll just do 10.10. Let's see. 180.255. All right. So well, we can run that. Start a reverse CB handler. So it's basically running it from what it looks like. So we ran it with the exploit. So basically, we were able to find information about this particular vulnerability. We found out the CVE for it. Then we were able to launch Metasploit, and in Metasploit, we basically searched the specific vulnerability, and very basic. We typed in search icecast, and then we came down here and inputted the information that was required, which was basically all Metasploit needs us to do at that point is to just enter in the target IP address for the vulnerable machine, and then set the R host. So basically set the R host to the target machine. And then now it's pretty much verifying that it's on this target machine. And then we run it. So once we run it, we get this information here. So we have successfully gained access. So we're going to move on to the next step, which is escalate.